Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I have found in my travels. Today, I want to talk about a poem that I read because it is Poetry Thursday. And I also wanted to talk about a Russian poet because I feel like I don't talk about Russian writers enough on this channel, which is fine. You know, there are other YouTube channels out there, booktube channels, for people who specifically talk about that sort of thing. But I still feel like I'm missing that area of writing, which is something I hope to fix in 2024, maybe, at the time that I'm talking. But I look forward to talking about this poet that I found as well. And today's poem is all about December and Christmas and Magi. I am referring to December 24th, 1971 by Joseph Brodsky. For those who don't know, Joseph Brodsky was a Russian writer who lived between the 1940s and the late 1990s. He wrote quite a few poems as well as plays and other literature that focused on the human experience, often focusing on death and writing about authoritarianism and other such things, and winning a lot of acclaim, maybe more so later in his life, but he still won some acclaim for his work, including the Nobel Prize for Literature, which is pretty cool. He lived in Russia for the early part of his life, but his writing was eventually claimed to be rebellious in some ways against the Soviet regime, and pornographic in other regards. Whether or not it was actually pornographic is another question entirely, but because of that, he was jailed, and that might have also been anti-Semitic because of his Jewish background, because the Soviets were doing Jewish pogroms at the time. But he was eventually released early because other writers wrote on his behalf, spoke out for him. But he eventually left the country because he didn't really trust the Soviet government anymore, which is very interesting about this writer, maybe influencing some of the things that he might be talking about in his other works. But yeah, a very interesting author that I'm glad that I found. Without further ado, let's talk about December 24th, 1971. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. December 24th, 1971. When it's Christmas, we're all of us magi. At the grocer's, all slipping and pushing, where a tin of halva, coffee-flavored, is the cause of a human assault wave by a crowd heavy laden with parcels, each one his own king, his own camel. Nylon bags, carrier bags, paper cones, caps, and neckties all twisted up sideways, reek of vodka and resin and cod, orange mandarins, cinnamon, apples. Flood of faces, no sign of a pathway toward Bethlehem, shut off by blizzard. And the bearers of moderate gifts leap on buses and jam all the doorways, disappear into courtyards that gape, though they know that there's nothing inside there, not a beast, not a crib, nor yet her round whose head gleams a nimbus of gold. Emptiness. But the mere thought of that brings forth lights as if out of nowhere. Herod reigns, but the stronger he is, the more sure, the more certain the wonder. And the constancy of this relation is the basic mechanics of Christmas. That's what they celebrate everywhere. For its coming push tables together, no demand for a star for a while, but a sort of goodwill touched with grace can be seen in all men from afar, and the shepherds have kindled their fires. Snow is falling, not smoking but sounding chimney pots on the roof, every face like a stain. Herod drinks, every wife hides her child. He who comes is a mystery, features are not known beforehand. Men's hearts may not be quick to distinguish the stranger. But when draughts through the doorway disperse, the thick mist of the hours of darkness, and a shape in a shawl stands revealed, both a newborn and the spirit that's holy in yourself you discover. You stare skyward and it's right there, a star. And so that was December 24th, 1971. In terms of analysis, there's a lot worth discussing in this poem. In terms of narrative, it seems like what is happening, and it starts drifting into magical realism or metaphor even. So it's difficult to nail down a specific plot, but the narrator is just talking about what happens at Christmas time, how we're all racing for gifts, for buying stuff during the Christmas season, and then we afterwards people leap on buses, they run home to get home, and something about Herod reigning and how this is a time for goodwill and people coming together. But ultimately, people understand the true meaning of Christmas, the spirit that's holy, the newborn, and the star that in the sky that's representing Jesus and guided the Magi. So it's a very biblical poem, getting at the meaning of Christmas, the inherent religiousness of it all, celebrating the birth of Jesus, the prophet of Christianity. And I like how Brodsky uses the biblical imagery in this poem. He says, when it's Christmas, we're all of us magi. So kind of picturing the magi, the three wise men wandering the desert in search of the newborn king, the Jesus. So we're all just kind of wandering about trying to find what we need. And then in the second verse, he says, no sign of a pathway toward Bethlehem. So we're kind of lost on our way of finding all of these gifts. In the third verse, he says, not a beast, not a crib, nor yet her, round whose head gleams a nimbus of gold. I actually had to read that multiple times, and I think I finally understood the nimbus of gold is the halo. That you're not seeing a beast, nor a crib, like a manger, I would say, or her. So you're not seeing an angel guiding you towards towards Bethlehem to see the baby Jesus or something like that. And in the fourth verse, he says, and the constancy of this relation is the basic mechanics of Christmas. That there might be a terrible person out there, or just bad times in general. Herod reigns, but the stronger he is, the more certain, or the more sure, the more certain the wonder. So Christmas will come regardless of whether Herod tries to stop it. Herod being the figure in the Bible who tried to kill Jesus because he was worried about the rising of a new king to take over. And then the fourth verse, I think that's the fourth verse. In the later verse, he says, but a sort of goodwill touched with grace can be seen in all men from afar, and the shepherds have kindled their fires. So shepherd is another biblical sort of word that's used. But I do like how in that verse he's saying, a goodwill touched with grace can be seen in all men from afar. So Christmas brings out the best in people. And then in the last verse, you see it like an outright mention of the baby Jesus or something like that. But when drafts through the doorway disperse the thick mist of the hours of darkness, and a shape in a shawl stands revealed. I think the shape in the shawl is the baby Jesus, of course, both a newborn, directly mentioning it, and spirit that's holy in yourself you discover. You stare skyward, and it's right there, a star. I like how he mentions inward, like you're looking inward, and you're finding that meaning of Christmas. It doesn't have to be something out external like religion. It doesn't have to be going to church or anything like that. Like you can look inward and find that, and it's right there, a star. Which I feel like is that you're looking up into the sky and you're finding that inherent meaning of it all. You're seeing past the consumerism of Christmas, perhaps, and looking into its true origins and what that could mean for you and your loved ones. Anyways, those are my thoughts on December 24th, 1971. A very interesting poem. I like how it's specifically named after a date, sort of drawing like comparisons between, the birth of Jesus all the way years past and what it could mean at that present date in time, the inherent changing of the meaning of Christmas, or maybe how it stayed the same. I think it's left up to the reader there. But I definitely recommend that you go check it out and check out some of Brodsky's other poems, because if this one isn't for you, there are certainly other ones that might strike your fancy. He is a very talented poet and writer in general, so I definitely recommend that. But let me know what you think of in the comments below. Let's have a discussion about this. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people can find out about this poem or this poet if they do not already know about them. Also, join the Discord in the comments or in the description below so that more people, can have conversations about books, movies, TV show, whatnot over on Discord. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and stargazing travels. Farewell.